Welcome back, Floater Gang. We're going to be doing the Cancun drawing board for the New Orleans Pelicans. Should they or should they not trade Brandon Ingram? And Lauren does have some interesting mock trades for that, Lauren. So let's hear what you have drawn up for Brandon Ingram being traded.
Well, here's the question. So I guess on this last one with the Lakers, I found out that Maxey is probably not an unrestricted free agent, but still, if they can get Maxey, they should do it. They have some money to play with. Despite having guards, we talked about, CJ McCollum's not, he hasn't really played traditional true point guard, even though he's a great playmaker. I think it would be awesome. I think Maxey would be just an incredible fit if they could get him. So what should they do if they get Maxey afterwards? Trade Ingram away. He's got one more year on his contract, and who are you gonna get for him? Kyle Kuzma from the Wizards. And I think you could do this as a straight up trade. If you need to throw in something more, I think that's fine. And so why do you get Kyle Kuzma over Brandon Ingram? Because Brandon Ingram's getting paid way more, and Kyle Kuzma, I think, might be able to fit that role better than Brandon Ingram can. And I'm an Ingram fan. But I think if you have Maxey, CJ McCollum, and Zion, then you're clearly Zion and Maxey in that case will be your guys. I think Kuzma will be a much better fit alongside those guys in Ingram, just because for one, he's played that role before with the Lakers, and two, he's a better three-point shooter than Ingram, and I think that's a huge problem when you right now that the Pelicans have with Ingram and Zion. I love Ingram a lot. I'm a huge fan. I just don't think that fit. He's the right guy next to Zion.
It's not Ingram, it's
I
Ingram.
know, bro. I heard it. It felt wrong every time, and I don't know. It just slipped out that way.
I was
I apologize to Brandon Ingram. Your name is Ingram. It just came out as Ingram
You
like
mean
twice,
Kingram,
three times.
Lauren?
Well,
Yep, Brandon Ingram.
all right. To speak on the Maxey thing, uh, it's not happening. There's
Yeah,
no way the
Yeah,
Sixers let him
you
go.
gotta let
let's
down
You got to
now.
give
reroute.
up the
I
Maxey
have
thing.
another option.
you're a
All right,
Philly
let's hear
fan, but you want Maxey to like leave the whole time.
You
I
put
don't
Embiid
understand
there, and
this thing.
Embiid is literally he's just so hard to root for. He constantly does things like every time I try to turn around on him, he does something super petty.
I mean, not even petty, just dirty.
Yeah,
Which
that's
is
true.
dirty, petty, all of the above, dude. Like he does all of the above.
He hasn't done anything dirty in this playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
Well, we know who hasn't watched yet. We know who hasn't watched a single game yet.
All
Okay,
right, Lauren. So
hey,
let's.
it's a physical sport. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's take it a little bit back to earth. I love this idea. We talked about it at the trade deadline. So what are you
uh,
gonna do?
I would like to talk about Kuzma and Ingram. So
Sure.
you said they need that 3-point shooting. Well, percentage wise, Ingram is a better 3-point shooter. So like 3 point.
The Kyle Kuzma has Jordan Poole setting him up, so uh, I think that percentage can go up a little bit with real distributors around him. Um, I think Kuzma's a better 3-point shooter, but here I'll let you continue. I interrupted you. That's
And
rude.
as you said, the Ingram getting traded straight up. If the Wizards are gonna ask for more, I'm not doing the trade at all. I'm not giving up more than Ingram for Kyle Kuzma.
Well, what if you get Johnny
So
Davis too?
Yeah,
yeah,
Then
that's what
they'll
I'm
have
saying.
to
You could
give
throw in
me
a young
more
guy.
to take Johnny Davis.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But that way you can even it out. Give him
Hypothetically
Zion
speaking,
Ingram for
I would get.
Johnny and Kuzma.
Oh, okay.
I would trade
Yeah.
Brandon Ingram and whoever else to make the money work for Kyle Kuzma and Corey Kispert.
Mm.
That could be
and you're
nice.
throwing a first round
I
pick or
would
so.
here. I'll one
Do
up you. I
Herb.
would trade. I would no, not her. Are you kidding me? Uh, I would do Kuzma and Tyus Jones. There's your
Ooh,
real
that
point guard right there.
that'd be nice. They could use that.
That would
Kispert
be
would also be
crazy.
fun, but I think they want to give Jordan Hawkins minutes, and
I just
Kispert.
don't know the money, so I don't know
No, yeah,
what's worth
I
and what's
don't
not.
really know the money either. I mean, I think I know uh Ingram. I was about to say Ingram. Ingram
Ingram
is
has
making a lot more money than Kuzma.
Lauren, you're toxic.
I'm sorry, kid.
And I
No,
think
but
Tyus Jones is a free agent, so they would have to do like a sign and trade type thing. But I think they can make it work.
speaking of the point guard, another thing that could be interesting is they potentially look at drafting Tristan Newton from UConn. I
Hmm.
think that could be nice. He's definitely can be a really good distributor. He can take that point guard from CJ McCollum as well if they can't get Tyus or some other point guard. Because as much as I love CJ, he's been great at playing point guard, but I really think they'd be better if they can put him back down to shooting guard and get a real point guard distributor. And I feel like Tristan Newton could fit that role really well in
Yeah.
New Orleans.
I think Mark Sears, he's also underrated out of Alabama. Um,
Mm.
he reminds me a lot of
Yeah.
Brunson, and I mean they look very similar, just the play styles. But I think play style wise, he reminds me a lot of Brunson. Tyler Kolek too, out of Marquette.
That's true.
But
Cole looks pretty nice.
I think they have a mid round pick. I don't know the exact number. I think it's like
Yeah, I
17
forgot. I
maybe.
was looking at it earlier, but I forgot.
But there's going to be a lot of good NBA ready guards sitting there for them if they want to go that direction.
Yeah.
I
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Another thing you want to do here, outside of the guards, like right back to the guards, you'll like what I have to say, trust me. But Jonas, the upcoming unrestricted free agent, if you
Yeah.
can sign him back for under 15 million, I think would be ideal and realistic. Under 15 million a year. Um,
Herbert?
definitely want to stick under 20. No, Jonas.
Oh, okay.
I think they just
And then
extended her.
yeah, Herb's got a really great contract. They did an awesome
Yeah.
job. But here's another guy that has an awesome contract. Kind of reminds me of Herb. You want to trade for DeJounte Murray. We talked about it at the deadline. All the things that we just talked about the guard, he's an experienced guard, great playmaker. He can literally do everything. The contract is as sexy as it gets for a guy like that. And again, CJ McCollum, have him as a true shooting guard again. He's also just been an amazing like role player type of shooting guard, shooting a really high percentage 3-pointer, just off catch and shoots and whatever. Like he can just do everything. And DeJounte Murray can kind of take on that true point guard role. It would be absolutely fantastic. The big question is on everyone's mind, of course, is the package. So DeJounte Murray and AJ Griffin for Brandon Ingram, Jose Alvarado, and a first round pick
Mm.
to make it attractive for both teams. The Hawks. And also, we're not talking about the Hawks here, but guys, I just want to point something out here. I think this would be a really interesting fit to have Brandon Ingram alongside Trae Young. If it doesn't work, no harm. He'll be a free agent after this year. But instead of having that star pairing that they had with two guards, give Trae Young like a forward. Give Trae Young a Brandon Ingram type of guy. I think this could be a
Yeah.
really interesting pairing, and he's an IQ player. I like that fit. Just to see it for a year, you get a first round pick alongside with it, and even Jose Alvarado on the defensive end too would be nice. Also, just 1 year.
I
I
think,
do. I
yeah. Go ahead,
Go
Diego.
ahead. Okay. I think DeJounte Murray, at the deadline when it was like proposed, I really liked the fit. And now the more I think about it, I really like it. I mean, first of all, it allows Trey Murphy to start next to Zion. And that's just, you're gonna have a ton of shooting next to Zion, and that's the idea. Um, and then it gives just another reliable, I think, creator. It gives another good guard defender. Like the perimeter defense is really good. They got a lot of really long guys to defend. And DeJounte Murray is just another one of those guys. And he's a true point guard, like you said, CJ, he's not a true initiator, essentially, but he's played that role okayly. Okayly? That's not a word. He's played the role okay, but I think moving him back to the two would be ideal. Put DeJounte there, DeJounte and Zion. And like you said earlier, the center spot is going to be interesting. Just because Jonas is a free agent. Mario, do you have
Mhm.
something to say?
I think if they could potentially get another pick for the draft, I think Darren Holmes the second could be a really nice fit for them at center.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they have so much offense, and Darren Holmes can get rebounds as good a defense. He can score too, but I think he's kind of exactly what they need at the five. Just kind of a bigger body. You can do the basic five kind of things down there.
Yeah, he's a
For
little
sure.
skinny as a five.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
true.
But that's why you signed Jonas. So I think this is ideal. You get Jonas. Again, you're not playing him 30 minutes a game, right? You're using
Right.
him to have him as part of your toolkit. It's all about the toolkit and giving you different looks, different lineups you can throw out there, depending on the night and depending on the playoff series more than anything, right? And if you get a guy like that in the draft, you literally have a bunch of guys that you're literally giving them a chance to play in the most ideal situation. You have DeJounte Murray surrounded by like just a force in the inside in Zion Williamson, a bunch of three-point shooters. You have CJ McCollum just given that role as already as a veteran shooting guard. He can still shoot lights out. He can score if you need him to score. He can play make on the side. Trey Murphy giving him a chance to really thrive as a lights out shooter on the defensive end and being able to go in like Herb Jones may or depending on if you start Herb or Trey Murphy, you also have guys that other guy being able to just thrive off the bench. You have just a bunch of guys that are just in the ideal situation. As a Spurs fan who has kind of not gotten off the DeJounte fan wagon, I would be so happy as a Pelicans fan to see DeJounte Murray in a Pelicans
Mhm.
uniform this
That would
season.
be hot. I would love that.
Okay, so y'all all positive. I'm gonna bring it down. All right.
Perfect.
I personally think they need a point guard that isn't so much worried about scoring, as more of passing. That's why I really like the Wizards when Deacon actually brought up Tyus Jones.
Yeah.
He's more of a
That's
playmaker.
that's what we've been
Um,
saying.
Yeah,
and
that's what DeJounte is.
well,
He's
if you
also
look
a
at him
scorer.
play, he had
But he can also score 20
44
points per game, but
shots.
I think you want that.
He had 44 shots taken. That's a
Did you
lot of
watch the
freaking
playoffs? Did you
shots.
see how they couldn't score?
I'm just saying, most times teams take 60 shots total in a game. He took himself 44.
Yeah.
So that
So
I don't think
averages, he can
I
also
don't
Okay,
think
average 15
for the
assists.
who
Pelicans,
is he playing alongside? Who is he playing alongside? What were his weapons during that game?
DeAndre Hunter,
Yeah.
Sadiq Bey.
Sadiq Bey wasn't playing, I'm pretty sure. Hunter was probably shit that game because I know he had some really bad games.
No, he was really
Hunter's
good that game,
That
actually. I
was his good
remember.
game.
Yeah. Or maybe that was the other Celtic game.
I know he
the
What
had
was
thing
the
is
like
one
he
where
one
he
really
took
the
the
thing
good
is
three
he's
game.
a
way too early? Or like the shot clock was already? Anyway, we're getting sidetracked.
point is DeJounte Murray is a selfless point guard.
I
He's a
don't
true
think that's what they
playmaking
need.
point guard.
I don't think that's at all what they need. I think he is not like focused as a playmaker. That's why I really like Tyus Jones. He is looking to playmake, but he can also
Hmm.
score really well.
Yeah,
All right.
especially if
And
you get Kuzma in that deal as well.
yeah, and I think that's a way better deal. You're also not giving up as much because I think the Pelicans really like Jose Alvarado, and he brings that defense still. And so Tyus Jones also has pretty good defense. I like the Wizards trade. I don't think you're looking for that DeJounte at all.
I fully disagree. And here again, point being is for one, you think that's enough firepower with those guys, especially if Zion's gonna miss a few games. Like you want like DeJounte being a capable scorer is not negative because he's not a
Well,
must score guy. He's not a guy that needs to. He is not Trey Young. He is not Trey Young who is gonna throw up 30 shots a game. Right,
they
give or take a few.
they aren't going to have enough firepower if Zion's not. Period. I mean, not healthy.
I'm talking about
Period. You
regular
know.
season. I'm talking about regular season. Get a few. You need your wins.
Yeah. I mean, I think. I mean, so it's really like if you do the Wizards deal, it's really about like you just are going to have. I mean, I think they already have some of the best depth in the league,
You
but
wouldn't
I
do the
think
Wizards deal if you do the DeJounte deal because Ingram is in the DeJounte deal.
no, you can't do both.
Yeah.
But I think I don't think it's unreasonable to rather the Wizards deal over the Hawks deal, just because you are getting more out of the Wizards deal in terms of just like
Yeah.
players.
You're also giving up
DeJounte's
less.
more valuable though, but
Again, I disagree, and even more so on DeJounte. For one, again, we talked about they were the worst fourth quarter team, or one of the worst fourth quarter teams, due to that firepower during the regular season and in the playoffs with Zion. So let's give them a little bit of grace. They were just poop. I love CJ McCollum. I love Ingram. They both just shit the bed. So the firepower isn't enough. I love Kuzma too, but again, we saw him as a three piece when the Lakers won. Like that's not going to be all the firepower you need. So I think you need a closer. So for one, DeJounte would give you that. It would give another guy you can give the ball to close to. He'll be able to find Zion, no problem. And also another guy he can create his own shot. He's been so clutch this season. But by the way, if we've seen some of the clutch shots that he made,
I,
especially with Trae Young out, and then
3-game winners.
secondly, I am so convinced they need more firepower and especially a closer because that was their weakness. Let's attack the weakness. They've got space afterwards to sign a DeMar DeRozan or Paul George type of guy potentially, and I would not be against them pursuing that at all.
so I'm
I don't know
looking.
about DeMar DeRozan just because I think
Yeah,
space can be a little sketchy, but I think I would rather the DeJounte trade just because I think they already have great depth, and then just the more, like you said, closers, the more guys that could win you a game down the stretch. I think is the more the better, you know.
I think
Um,
DeJounte is so inconsistent in the fourth quarter. His shot is just not very great. And I'm looking at also the stats compared. He played with the Wizards, the worst team in the league. They're horrible. Right. He had to deal with Jordan Poole, and a couple other idiots on that team that can't hit a shot. And he's getting 7.3 assists. If he's in a good system with a good big, he's gonna do amazing with that ability. He's shooting at a high rate from the 3-point line. 31 and a way better or a better field goal than DeJounte too. So his shooting is gonna be there better. Because DeJounte likes to shoot a lot of threes and he doesn't knock down very many of them. And the quarter, he likes to chuck up a lot of shots, try to hit the big time shots.
This is like grade A hating without like factual stats.
I
This is like
just
class.
named out factual stats. DeJounte Murray has a 36% 3-point rate or percentage.
I'm pretty sure I would need a stat for this. But for one, that's not bad, especially because again we're talking about him being the point guard distributor with guys like Trey Murphy and CJ McCollum and Herb Jones around him, and Zion and also clogging the paint. And so that would not be bad. That's doing a good job, and I think he even shot at a higher rate without Trey Young. Not entirely sure. And then not to mention if you were even able to get a guy like DeMar DeRozan or Paul George, I think that would be a great fit. And again, we're building a playoff basketball team, right?
Yeah.
You're going for the playoffs.
Tyus Jones knows
You're
how to
not
win.
going into the playoffs looking at the OKC Thunder with Tyus Jones, your starting point guard, and that lineup, and saying, "Oh, I like our odds." That's not happening. DeJounte Murray is
It
going to give you a
actually
much
is.
better chance.
We've seen when he was on the Grizzlies with a great system, John Morant was out, they won basically every game.
Yeah, in
He
the
is a
regular
winner
season,
with the
dude.
right
In the
system.
regular season, bro. You're not going to Tyus Jones with that type
He
of
was
firepower.
amazing in the playoffs against the Lakers.
Dude, I love Tyus Jones. Get him as your backup or give him like or put him as a point guard of the Phoenix Suns. And yes, you might have a compelling case. But this is not the fit. This is not enough firepower. These are not enough bona fide pure scorers. Again, worst fourth quarter team in the regular season and completely shut down by the Thunder, where Tyus Jones will just give them open looks all of a sudden without even being much of a scoring threat himself. That's not happening.
I think it is, but yeah. There's no factual statement, so it's just
yeah.
I'm looking at the
Every word
stats
that
and I like
flows
the
out of
odds
my
better.
gracious mouth is a factual statement.
I think both of you have compelling cases, but are there any free agent centers you would like them to look at? I think Isaiah Hartenstein is one of my favorites.
Yeah, Hartenstein, I like him a lot. He's
I mean,
nice.
he's a lot more
They're
mobile
not
than
getting Hartenstein,
Jonas.
guys.
Yeah, he's not
Um,
leaving.
I mean, if they decide to move forward with Mitchell as a starter, I think if the team offers him a bag, I think, and the starting spot, I think he would leave.
He
How
loves
much
him.
do you think they should offer him?
Like
That's
10
also
mil.
another thing.
Did you say
Yeah, why not?
how much?
10?
10.
Dude, the Knicks would offer him 15.
You think
He's
so?
making like 10 million right now.
If he is.
Jonas is coming off his contract making 23 million a year.
I also don't think he's better than Jonas.
I think I think it's situational because Jonas like
Jonas
I
was
unless
a
think
it was like
playoff machine.
given
Jonas
age and
Jonas was
athleticism
bullying
and the
Chet.
new modern NBA, Hartenstein is much more valuable than
Yeah,
Jonas
Jonas
unless
is.
Jonas
carried
was
the
absolutely
Pelicans in this playoffs.
Oh no,
In
only in the
kinda.
first
everything.
game. That was only the
So
first
the
game. He
first,
didn't get 10
like
or
I
more
said,
rebounds
so
after the first game.
yeah, so the first game he was dominating Chet on the boards, and then second game on, Chet out
Adjustments. It's
rebounded him
playoffs.
in a lot of those games. They adjusted, and then Jonas just couldn't guard Chet. Chet
He has
was
way too
outside the
many.
3-point line. He was going by him. And I think Jonas is still valuable, like Lauren said, in those spots. Like you got to adjust. You got to have different looks, for a lot of these teams. But I think having Isaiah Hartenstein as well could give you a different look. I don't know. I mean, maybe he'll get 15. I mean, he is really good. He
Yeah, I
could
mean,
get
right now
15.
he was on a 2-year, 16 mil contract, so he's getting eight a year. So I could see it definitely getting upgrade. I'm curious to how much it would be. But
Mhm.
another thing that I remember we were talking a little bit about during the Thunder Pelican series is Willie Green. Do you guys
Yeah.
think they should keep him, or do you think they should look at potentially moving forward with a new coach?
He's a great
So I
coach.
went.
Keep him. I
I
don't
So
think he's the
understand why
best
you
coach in
give
the
him up.
West.
I'm actually serious. He's a great coach. Have y'all known what he's done?
yeah.
What has he done?
Well,
He's developed so many players.
Develop
I'm
and
with
coaching is
Valentin.
different though, Valentine.
And also, I think we have to be very careful with saying, "Hey, a player is good and happened to be good while the guy was coaching it." Like the Lakers went to the Western Conference Finals. Was that because of Coach Ham?
Yes.
I think that's
I think
that's
some of
hard to
it was.
say. I think that's hard to give credit. That just because guys happen to be good, that could also just be because they were they were just good players. Like the GMs, the front office drafted.
Brandon Ingram came into that
Like we
system and
know
he made him a great player.
we know with how the Spurs develop players, they're good at developing players. We know with how what the Heat do, they're great at drafting and developing players and giving them the right role with building.
How
We
do you know
know.
that developed players compared to Willie Green?
I'm
If
not
y'all
saying he
aren't going to give
doesn't. I'm
me the
saying
Monty
I would not
developed
give him
AD
credit
point,
just because there happen to be two good young guys on that roster. What did you say?
I said if y'all aren't going to give me the DeJounte developed AD point, then I'm not going to give you the
The Monty
Willie Green
Williams developed
developed Brandon
80.
Ingram. Yeah. Is that what I said?
You said DeJounte,
It
bro.
sounded like you said
Oh,
DeJounte. You might have said DeJounte, but I knew
I
what you
might
were
have said DeJounte. I meant Monty. So I went to the Pelicans like Reddit or whatever just to see like what their fans are thinking. They all hate Willie Green, and I was with Valentin. I don't mind Willie Green at all.
saying.
I think he is pretty good. I think he's been dealt a bad hand. His star players always hurt. He's been
Okay.
hurt for the majority of his tenure. I mean, just injuries in general. It's been kind of a disaster in that tenure. But I think the majority of the fan base wants him gone. Wants someone like I think legit that has experience in these situations. Um, I think another frustrating thing is the young guys like Dyson Daniels, Jordan Hawkins. Um, they're not getting they're not
Mhm.
getting minutes over guys like Najee Marshall or
Marshall had some good
uh,
games,
he
but
But talk
has,
about
but he's
development.
also had some
Talk
really
about
rough games.
development.
But yeah,
Talk about development right there. Also, I want to just point something out. We should start this right at the beginning, but guys, this going into the playoffs was literally the worst case. Like just coming out of the playoffs was worst case situation for the Pelicans right now. Like as far as the events that happened,
yeah,
you lost your star player, and your next two up. Brandon Ingram kind of being still fresh off an injury, so I give him a lot of credit. And then going against a Thunder defense and just completely underwhelming him and CJ McCollum. It's a bad situation, and it doesn't do Green any favors. I don't mind Green, but I do think he should be out of there. I don't think he's a horrible coach, but I also don't think a lot of times he puts the team in situations where they are given the best chance to succeed,
yeah. I think
I
particularly
his
on
don't.
first year, his first year they overachieved, and I think that's where a lot of my Green
mhm.
admiration came from. They took the Suns to 6 games. It was awesome. Zion was hurt. And then they lost in the play in the next year. After Zion went out, they completely fell apart. And I mean, like I said, that's really hard for Green. It's hard to win without your best player, but you have to win with that roster in general. I think that roster's still good enough to, make the playoffs without Zion. And they lost in the play. It's not like they completely missed it, but I think the past couple of years they have underperformed, and it may not be completely his fault. Like you said, that they were completely outmatched against the Thunder. Um, like Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum just couldn't get going. I mean, CJ McCollum kind of got going in game 4, but that's about it. Um, and like Trey Murphy, he is probably their he was probably their best player in that series, and he just got pretty limited shot attempts. Um, I didn't like a lot what I saw because I watched. I mean, that was like the only series I watched every minute of because I'm a Thunder fan, and he got absolutely outcoached. No matter the roster, uh, the strength of rosters, Mark Daigneault ran laps around him.
Mhm.
But I don't know if it's egregious enough to fire him, but I think you got to look into what's going on.
Marvin, I wanted you to talk, but I just think I want to kind of point this out in short words. I think Green's floor is high, but his ceiling is low.
I completely disagree. Look what he's done with Herbert Jones and Trey Murphy right now. Look what they're doing. He's put him in great situations,
Playing
and
great
you can't
situation,
deny that.
playing on the court
He's made him great
over
players.
the rest of their competition at their position on the roster.
Trey Murphy is now one of the best Pelicans player there
And
because
how
of
much
Willie
credit
Green.
goes to Green? Why is that because of
That
Green?
is
Is that
the
not because
question.
Trey Murphy goes in the gym because he has the developers, because he puts in the effort, because he has the IQ, the athleticism?
He made him a better shooter.
Do we have evidence of Green helping him with his shot?
Do we
Or are
have
we just saying
evidence
this because he's
of
a good
Eric
shooter?
Spoelstra helping Max Strus, helping Duncan Robinson, helping any of them? No. It's
We
just
do have evidence of the Miami Heat very consistently drafting players other teams are not big
drafting
on,
them,
and those
not
players
developing.
largely,
They didn't
largely
draft him
over,
though.
largely
That's
Pick them
true.
treated
up,
undrafted
whatever.
players. Yes, even more so. Players that have had no hype, completely over exceeding their expectations, and then often, even once they leave the Heat, again, not being as successful. I think that is very consistent evidence of what we know about the character of Spoelstra, of what they say, of what they do, and what the results are, and even Pat Riley. So
I
there's
just
your
want to
evidence.
I just want to clarify one thing with the shooting. Trey Murphy has always been a 40% shooter from college and through his whole career. Has 3 seasons, but he's always been a good 3-point shooter.
Yes. Besides this topic,
That
whether
is the most
Green
bullcrap
is a
thing I've
great
ever
development
heard in my
coach
life.
to the likes of Monty Williams, we can discuss on a different podcast. Two great former Pelicans coaches or
They should
current
have
Pelican
him to
coaches.
win.
But anyway, they have a lot of cap space. Technically, they can make a lot of lemonade out of these lemons, the Pelicans. They're still in an awesome situation. Did you guys have any other comments about what the Pelicans should do?
So the only thing I was gonna say is whether it's Willie Green or a different coach, but I think the biggest thing the Pelicans need to focus on with their coach is that with the depth they have, they need to be okay changing out players like Mark Daigneault and some of the other good coaches. If this player isn't doing it tonight, use one of the other players you have on the bench that doesn't always play and see if he can be that spark off the bench. Because I think that
To
was
be
one of the
fair,
biggest problems for the Pelicans because like we were saying, Marshall had some really good games. He also had some really bad games in the playoffs. And in those bad games, you should have taken him out after like a few minutes and said, "Hey, Hawkins, let's see what you got. Daniels, let's see what you got." Instead of just, kind of hoping they were eventually gonna get a spark that they can get, but it's not really guaranteed at all because it's just a kind of, he can be that guy, but he's not at all guaranteed to be that spark off the bench.
a similar thing happened in that series too with Alvarado. Like, I mean, he was pretty outmatched defensively just because the guys he was guarding were just like 6 inches taller than him. And he didn't make a ton of adjustments. So I think that also needs to be addressed. But we also did see him in the play-in. He benched Brandon Ingram, which I thought was pretty pretty cool.
Pretty bold.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I mean, it comes down to coaching philosophy, right? And also just the moment and reading the situation. In general, it's just, hey, do I want to keep this guy in and say, hey, I trust you, like Jamal Murray, you suck all game, but you're coming in fourth quarter, still be like, I'm confident in you, like keep shooting the ball and you'll get there. Because sometimes that's the right case. Or either, hey, guy, okay, it's not your turn, next guy cycle through. And it just kind of depends on coaching philosophy. I don't think either one's wrong or right. Depends on the coach and depends on how well you are at reading situation and then moving with whatever your philosophy is.
Well, I think that's another issue with this Pelicans roster. They don't have like a ton of trust in their best guys.
Yeah.
Like you
Anyways,
can't.
no,
Yeah, we
go
could
ahead.
wrap it up.
All
We
right.
could wrap it up. I don't have
All right.
anything
Yeah.
else.
Anyways, with that, let us know what you think the Pelicans should do. Should they keep their coach? Should they keep Ingram? Let us know in the comments, subscribe, and check out our Instagram. Floater Gang out.